Fee, how are you? Before we go into the video, I wanted to mention a couple things that I forgot to mention in the video. So the first thing is that I made a pattern diagram. You can find it on my blog, and it's not an actual pattern. So if you are a size 34, you can use exactly the same measurements. It is included with the seam allowance. If you are a bigger size than me, then you can simply use it as a reference. It's not an actual pattern, so you need to make the pattern yourself. And as you can see, I have some left over. So what you can do is make scrunchie out of these, or like a hair tie, something like that. And besides that, I'm wearing these kind of tops underneath. I'm wearing one right now, as you can see. That's all I needed to say, so let's begin with the video. For this DIY, you need these supplies and sewing pins. Everything will be linked in the description. First, we need to measure. I recommend to use an elastic that is at least 1 centimeter wide. Measure the elastic around the underbust, upper bust, and around your arm. Not too tight and not too loose. For the arm, I use the same measurement 4 times. Now it is time to cut out the pieces. Make sure that your shirt is flat. First thing first is to cut out the buttons. Use your desired width, or you can take my measurements. Then I'm taking the elastic for the sleeve. To measure how long the sleeve should be, I'm stretching out the elastic until it is almost stretched out. Then you should leave a mark. In this case, I'm using the flower as a mark. Then I folded the other piece to use it as a template to cut out the sleeve. You can also use a marker if that is easier for you to draw out your pieces. Then I'm separating this rectangle piece to get 2 actual sleeves. When you have all your pieces ready, it is time to sew both ends of the elastic together like so. You want to use a zigzag stitch. Before you sew the ends together, make sure that the elastic is not twisted. Then go back and forth like 3 times or so, and you do this only for the 2 longest elastic bends. Here is a close-up view on how it should look like. Once you're done, you should end up with 2 elastic that is sewn and 4 that hasn't been sewn yet. Next up is the sleeve. We're gonna gather the elastic onto the sleeve to make ruffles. Divide the elastic evenly over this piece with some pins. To make it easier for yourself, draw a guideline so you know exactly where you need to place the elastic, and it will also make it easier to sew the elastic on, and you will also sew way much neater than I did. I'm sewing a couple stitches forward so that the elastic doesn't slip away when I start to pull the fabric. Stretch out the elastic until it matches the same length as the fabric to get the ruffles. If you need to, give the sewing machine an extra hand by pulling the fabric behind the pressure foot. Probably no one's going to do it, but I'm gonna say it. If you're sewing with these type of fabrics, so with knit fabrics, you need to use a ballpoint needle. What it does is avoiding making holes in the fabric because it has a rounded shape, so it slips through the threads instead of breaking the thread. Personally, I never do this because I could care less. Now just repeat the same steps for the other sleeve. Then fold your sleeve in half and close off the side by using a straight stitch. Feel free to serge your edges. If you want a neater finish, then you can sew the sides of the sleeve first and then you can sew the elastic on. For now, we are done with the sleeve. Moving on with the buttons, you want to divide the elastic and the buttons into quarters so that the elastic is spread out evenly. Again, I do recommend to draw a guideline before you do this. Normally I don't do this, but here I was just eyeballing it, which is not a good idea. You will find out soon. You also want to use the upper bust elastic, which is the longest one. Then again, you want to stretch out the elastic so that it matches the same length as the fabric of your top. Then sew the elastic on by using the zigzag stitch, and if you feel like the fabric is not going forward, pull the fabric from behind to help the sewing machine. You can also use a walking foot if you have one. I suggest to try it out. Here you can see how important it is to divide the elastic evenly so that you don't end up with this nonsense. This is now officially the back side of my top. Next, sew the sleeve on with a straight stitch and make sure that the seams are lined up. If you're not able to do this with your sewing machine, you can hand sew this. I mentioned a couple days earlier that things didn't go as planned. The underbust elastic didn't fit the width of the buttons. What I should have done was to check if the elastic would fit the width of the top like I did before with the sleeve. Instead, I used the same measurement as the upper bust elastic. I sewed the elastic ends together the same way as before. This time I decided to use my marker. This is a washable marker, by the way, and I added the few dots as a marking. That was basically my guideline. Then I was making sure that the elastic was divided evenly over the top. This was not plan B, by the way. This was a quick solution so I could finish the top as soon as possible. Plan B was making a casing in the top, but yeah, I didn't feel like doing that anymore. Then I sewed the elastic on like nobody's business. Then the fabric got stuck and I kept sewing just because this can happen sometimes. If it happens, don't give up, just continue. If I'm a survivor, you are a survivor too. After sewing, I decided to trim the bottom because it was way too long for my taste, and also the other edges was raw, so why not make it more cohesive. The last problem to fix was the lower elastic. Since the elastic was way too loose for my underbust, I had to take it in. I did it quickly like so. It's not the cleanest way, but it does work. I thought this would be funny to show you my struggles so you can see sometimes things doesn't go as planned and you just simply come up with a solution. If I can do it, you can do it too. If you're going to try this DIY, make sure to send me a picture via Instagram or Twitter. As you can tell, this is the end of the video. Have a nice day and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.